We're used to lies. We're used to the Gestapo by now. Who did Adolf Hitler go after first? Did he go after the Jews first? No. No, he didn't. He went after the homeless and the disabled, very specifically. The homeless and the disabled. These seem to be two of the people that Donald Trump hates most. He wants to pretend that every person on the streets is a drug addict and a drug dealer and a rapist and a murderer, same as he wants to pretend every brown person is. And now we got this woman who's killed in Minnesota. Reminds me a lot of my situation. Reminds me a lot of the Selena Not Afraid situation, where public officials had decided everything was okay before any investigation was done, where they decided that their official story was good enough despite the fact that it was 100% BS. Obviously, I didn't stalk Natalie, I was stalked. Obviously, according to Natalie, we never dated. But according to the predators that I was trying to turn in, who were allowed to speak up in my court, even though they were hundreds of miles away in a different state, I wasn't allowed to call witnesses from that very jurisdiction. Imagine that. I didn't even get my court date. After 65 days of holding you without your pretrial, they have to let you go. Well, they didn't let me have a pretrial. They also didn't let me go. They weren't going to let me leave until I pled guilty to a crime that I didn't commit. Sorry, crimes that I didn't commit. It's kind of like an earmark. You think that the law is about your rights as an American citizen, and they put a bunch of things in there that are completely unrelated. Things that take away your rights. But you didn't read it, you just believe what you're told. So, this lady who has Gestapo officers, and they are Gestapo, alright, that's what they are. You can call them ICE, you can call them terrorists, you call them whatever you want. These are domestic terrorists, and Donald Trump is a domestic terrorist. If you are an American soldier, these are exactly the kinds of people that you took an oath to defend all of us against. But you're not following that oath. So we can't compare Donald Trump or his peoples with Nazis, right? Well, let's take a look at it. Invading foreign countries and stealing their resources under false pretenses. Check. Going after a group based on race. Check. How about an infatuation with out-of-date battleships? Check. How about thinks he's an artist? Check. How about internment camps? Check. Yeah. Of course, there's a lot of stuff that Adolf Hitler implemented that Donald Trump will not implement. See, there's a lot of things that Adolf Hitler, who seems to be Donald Trump's idol, did that Adolf Hitler, well, he was for the people having health care, but only certain people. Well, that's Donald Trump as well, but Donald Trump doesn't want the majority of people having insurance. Let's take a look at this ICE officer killing. So this lady is trying to get away from the Gestapo. Now, I gotta say, the majority of those killed by police every year are men, and the majority of those men are homeless. 96% of those killed by police every year are men. Women are a lot more likely to get away with committing violent crimes too, though. They're more likely to get a slap on the wrist. Look at that. Well, Epstein's, I guess, ex, now that he's dead. She's living a life of privilege behind bars. Donald Trump and the things that he sent, why isn't he in prison? Why aren't these other government officials who took part in abuse, not just against me, but against many others, why are they still free? Why do they get to lock up their victims, call their victim mentally ill, and destroy evidence? Why is that okay? That's reality. Reality is most of these places that I'm sent to for help, they're not going to help. They are there to get a paycheck. Let's take a look at Shelley Robinson, for example, at CARE. All the stuff that Russell was helping with, well, I kind of need Russell to help me to finish that. Some of the stuff that we're waiting on, if there's any messages, it'll get sent to him. We need to get that stuff changed over to my phone number and my email now that I have those. And unfortunately, I need him to do that using his email because that's who it's sent to. Kind of complicated. And he was supposed to help me, well, he said on Thursday. But the Thursday after he had said that was Christmas. The Thursday after that, they were closed because of the New Year's thing. Thursday after that, he was having to change out days with somebody else because he covered for somebody. So maybe this Thursday. Meanwhile, I get notifications of stuff that I'm supposed to be doing. Otherwise, as a disabled person, I end up with nothing. I'm having to stay in somebody's backyard. They haven't gotten me housing in all this time. They haven't been helping get housing in all this time. So then we got this woman who is obviously trying to get away. Not fleeing as a criminal. No, this woman was doing the right thing. I don't agree with how foreign peoples are being treated right now either. Well, specifically brown foreign people. Very specifically brown foreign people. These are the targets of the Trump administration. The resources of brown foreign people. It's really not that cost effective to kick everybody out of the country that you don't like. The hatred that I see towards the poor from the Trump administration and from both liberal and Republican parties. We really got to leave the Democratic Party out of this one. At this point, liberals need to understand that Donald Trump is making sure that racist rednecks are armed and making sure that you are not. Unfortunately, you Many of you are disarming yourselves. Thank goodness for the liberals who are still intelligent. Criminals still have guns. They will still have access to guns long after guns are made illegal, which probably will happen. We have a lot of idiots in this country. Now, you are less likely to be killed by a gang member than you are to be killed by a police officer. You are also more likely to kill yourself or someone else with an accidental gun discharge because you're an idiot. That's the problem with letting rednecks have guns. When I say rednecks, I'm talking specifically about, well, the type of people who claim to be rednecks here in Oregon or in Chapel, Nebraska. What do they do for fun? Get drunk and play with stuff that goes boom. Gun laws don't work. There will always be people like me who know how to make stuff. It's just a willingness to or not to. What is my intention? What am I out to do? Now, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of stuff Donald Trump says that I do actually agree with. Just not his methods. And one thing that I am against is he doesn't look anything up for himself. He just believes anything that he's told. And anything that doesn't fit what he wants to hear, he's going to talk over and tell you you're an idiot. Now, of course, this is okay from him, but how dare anybody talk back to him that way? No, this is king of the world, apparently. This is what a lot of people are pissed off about. This guy doesn't care about the American people. He cares about lining his pockets and touching little girls. He might be into little boys too, I don't know. Reading some of the stuff that was released with the Epstein files, yeah, he probably goes both ways, but he's definitely into the very, very young. Now, I did the right thing. I protected people. But I get treated like I'm some sort of a pervert. I get harmed and assaulted, and my side isn't heard, my evidence isn't seen. Nobody cares. I'm not a human being to the Republicans or the liberals. No matter how much they may say that they're doing stuff with my best interest or our best interest, no, it's not our best interest. Robbing from the poor and giving to the rich is not in our best interest. Inciting corruption within your own government is not in our best interest. Making sure that we are without any sort of health care is not in our best interest. You know, it cost probably close to $200,000 overall for me to be locked up in jail here in Tillamook for 15 months. 15 months, and they had to drop the charges. The 3 times that I've been arrested here in Tillamook, they had to drop the charges. It wasn't about me being a criminal. It was about these people trying to peg me as a schizophrenic lunatic out to harm myself and others, and that has not been the case through any of this. Defending yourself is not a crime, and it should never be a crime, and nobody should have to be afraid of the goddamn Gestapo. It doesn't matter what you call them. These are not good people. These are paramilitants, like the Waffen SS. We can't have this. Adolf Hitler took his plans for forced labor from the United States because after the Civil War, you guys want to complain about the Jim Crow laws. The Jim Crow laws are gone. The ones that harmed us the most, the ones that were used to harm black people the most, were anti-homeless laws enacted after the Civil War. Those have been used to harm poor Americans every day since. When you're talking about 4 million black people becoming homeless all at once, well, then we get chain gangs. What's a chain gang? It's a forced labor camp. And yes, people died in chain gangs, and they still have chain gangs. I'm disgusted by the country I live in. I'm disgusted by how people look the other way, how they'll make excuses. Not my problem, not my circus, not my monkeys. How many other ways you want to say that? You don't care. It's not your business. No, 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 no. That's the problem. See, there's a poem, it's called When They Came. It was written by a man named Martin Niemöller. And I don't remember it exactly, but basically it went like this. When they came for the communists, I did nothing. I said nothing, for I am not a communist. When they came for the socialists, I said nothing, for I was not a socialist. When they came for the Jews, I said nothing, for I was not a Jew. And when they came for me, there was no one left to speak for me. Martin Niemöller was a submariner in World War I. By World War II, he was a preacher or a priest. I can't remember which. I believe he was a priest. And he also spent World War II in concentration camps. He was put there because he spoke up for the Jews. I hear so many people who are a part of this government and their subsidiary companies like CARE and TFCC saying that they won't do their jobs to turn crimes in as a mandatory reporter because it won't do any good. People leaving their positions because the companies that they're working for are taking advantage of the American people. They're taking advantage of poor people. They're taking advantage of the most vulnerable people in this country. Disabled homeless people. But do these people speak up about it? No. They make excuses. Oh, somebody else will do it. Why don't you ask somebody else? Why don't you ask your mom? Why don't you ask your parents? Don't you have any siblings you can ask? Why don't you just go to the police? I'm a homeless person who's disabled. If I go to the police, I get victimized, as you've seen again and again and again. They take advantage of the fact that I am afraid, and I am afraid for a reason, but I can't show that I am afraid of them, or they will use it as an excuse to hurt me and possibly kill me. When the Gestapo's in your neighborhood, what do? Apparently, you get shot in the head. That woman in Minneapolis wasn't trying to hurt anybody. She wasn't trying to kill anybody. She was trying to get away from violent attackers. Very big difference. These people want to yank American citizens out of their vehicles. No. They want to shoot Americans in the head. No. Most of the concentration camps for the Nazis were in Poland. You guys say we don't have concentration camps. Well, we've got plenty of internment camps. Every homeless person is a refugee here in America. Every homeless person is a refugee. Are you spending the money to help us get unhomeless? Or are you wasting a bunch of money on drug addiction? How about you help out the people that aren't drug addicts? How about you help out the victims of the fucking drug addicts? Out here on the streets, you can't go to the police. You have to hope that one of these fucking drug addicts will help you instead of just ripping you off. And guess what, folks? Time and time and time again, I've just been ripped off. But what happens if I go to the police? What happens if I go to CARE? Or to the Department of Health and Human Services? Well, they all help to steal from me as well. After they've broken the law, it's to their benefit for that evidence to disappear. So if you want to help them disappear the evidence, they're not going to say nothing. There's a difference between complacent and complicit. If you're aware of it and looking the other way, that's complicit. Complicit implies that you took part in it, as in maybe a cover-up, like maybe the victim told you that they were being abused and you sent them literally to the person who abused them to turn it in. That don't work. Anyway, I'm in this video. Be safe.